Yo! All right, next panel. Gotta wake you guys up. Not feeling the energy right now. Anyways, every time I see the Michael Saylor videos, it gets me pumped up every single time. Never fails. This next panel is called Lightning Security. The moderator is Guy Swann. Really recommend him. We have Danny, we have Warren, and we have Sean Andersen. So welcome these lightning legends to the stage. I'm really looking forward to this.
Calling Guy Swann. Guy Swann.
So we're waiting for. So who he? Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
What is up? I'm just in time. Just in time. Okay, so we are doing a. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Doing fucking great. You too.
Welcome back, Warren. So we are getting into lightning security, and this is probably something that would work really great as like a 2-hour podcast, but we don't quite have that time. There's plenty to go into, but I want to start out. Actually, let's just do again, like 1-2 sentence introductions, like who everybody is. Start with Andersen at the end.
Hey everybody, this is Sean Andersen. I work at Cash App. I'm a software engineer. I've been at Cash App since the beginning of the Bitcoin project, and I've worked on like all aspects related to Bitcoin, mostly the hot wallets. I've often told people that I have the best job at Block because I get to build the Bitcoin transactions and interact with the Bitcoin network. But lately, that's changed because we're doing so much cool stuff all across Block.
So hi, I'm Warren Togami from Blockstream. I've been a minor contributor to Bitcoin Core and Core Lightning, and I'm the creator of PeerSwap, which is the easiest way for any Lightning node to be its own swap provider to balance channels.
What's up? I'm Dusty. I'm a Core Lightning developer. That's pretty much me. My main project these days is splicing. Maybe you've heard of that. If you have any questions about it, come find me.
Hey guys, I'm Danny Diekroger. I was at Cash App the last 2.5 years working on the Lightning integration, but left about a month ago, and I'm doing my own Lightning liquidity platform called DZ, and I run one of the nodes on the Lightning network.
Nice. Now I'm Guy Swann, guy who's read more about Bitcoin than anybody else you know. Bitcoin Audible. Y'all should check it out. So I wanted to start this off because there's actually a lot of news about Lightning security issues right now, very recently. And I wanted to get into the L&D bug that has happened recently. I actually have not done a real deep dive on it yet. So who thinks they're going to be best at explaining what happened and why? Who wants to take it on?
I plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth?
I could try. I'll try, and you guys can correct me. But basically, there was a bug in how LND specifically, one of the Lightning node implementations, does the transaction parsing related to Taproot transactions, and some menace decided to exploit this and basically drop this bomb of a transaction that had was super huge, and it just froze up all the LND nodes, which is scary because on Lightning, if your node is frozen, then things can become pretty dangerous in terms of funds getting locked and then maybe swept, and the incentives get all weird. And that happened once, and there was a panic. And LND, the Lightning Labs team was great as fixing the bug in a few hours. People updated, and things seemed to be okay. But then a very similar bug occurred about 2 or 3 weeks later, the exact same thing with a slightly different bug, and everyone's like, okay, this is a little dangerous. Maybe if anyone wants to add any color.
Satoshi told us a long time ago that we should not make multiple implementations of Bitcoin, and LND decided to use a different implementation of Bitcoin. Oh, I think I lost my mic. Oh, it's okay. There it's back. LND decided to use a different implementation of Bitcoin, and that one had some consensus bugs that made all of their nodes quit working in unison, essentially.
So this type of bug, it's been a few years since like other implementations of Bitcoin ran into this type of issue where they effectively fall off of the Bitcoin network and they're unable to verify. And like I'm among the like Bitcoin developers who had long warned that you really don't want to re-implement the Bitcoin consensus rules because you need to also be bug compatible with bugs that are not even discovered yet.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably a good PSA if anybody's running a Lightning LND node and you haven't like checked it in a while, you need to update that right now. It's good PSA.
Yeah, go ahead and do that so you're back in sync.
Yeah, just do it on your iPhones right now.
Yeah, no big deal. Actually, it's funny. The LND that I was running, a BTC Pay server when they do the backend is LND, correct?
They do both.
They do both. Well, I'm pretty sure I've had mine up. I'm pretty sure it's only LND for like what I have, but
Yeah,
I
right.
never actually had any problems with mine. So I don't know.
Are you sure?
Well,
I mean, I guess I update. Well, I continue to use it. Like, have it connected to my phone. It's like one of my main.
The nature of the failure was kind of weird, where you could still process payments,
Yeah.
but you had none of the guarantees that your
Well,
funds
it's been
aren't being
updated
stolen.
since, so I guess it's.
That's good.
I guess it's sorted out.
I think BTC Pay Server, they updated for the first bug. I don't know if they've released the update for the second bug yet, but as long as you're staying up to date with BTC Pay Server, you should be good.
Okay. I probably lost everything.
So one thing that's interesting is this sounds really bad, but as a user of the Lightning Network, you probably wouldn't have noticed anything was going on because there's thousands and thousands of nodes. A bunch of them run different implementations like Core Lightning or LDK. Not a bunch run LDK, but or Eclair. And so there's different implementations that were totally fine. And even the LND nodes that were affected were still processing payments during this window. So it was like a scramble on the back end, but from the front end, like everything was working just fine. But it's definitely a big wake-up call.
I feel like this is a good segue into Watchtowers. You want to talk about that?
Yes, actually, that's definitely on my list, so this is probably a good way to get into it. So Watchtowers are, just as a general overview, is the ability to use another node or another server, another instance online to essentially hold the justice transaction for you. So the whole idea is that,
And
we're...
the watch.
Do what?
And
To watch the internet, or to watch the Bitcoin chain. So that essentially if I go offline, someone else still has the ban hammer to like enforce the fact that I own what I own in my channel, and they'll essentially publish it on my behalf if something goes wrong, my node goes down, or my device, storage goes sideways, which is actually a really important issue. Like, that's one of the fundamental things with Lightning is that it is an always online, always hot keys situation. So particularly from like a business perspective and like service provider perspective, how do you guys address this?
So from years ago, before Lightning, the gold standard for safety and security is to keep your keys offline, cold, and only make it hot like the moment that you need it. But Lightning doesn't work that way. Your keys need to be on the internet every moment in order to process incoming payments, in order to sign outgoing payments, and to sign for every routing attempt or even failed routing through your node. So being online 24/7 is a risk. And for this to be stable and secure as a node operator, you need to have confidence in the provider of the software that you are running. So it sounds like in the case of Guy, he's running a distribution that contains a Lightning node and BTC Pay server, and someone else updates the software for him, and then he updates to it. So there's various distributions of this, but there, like a topic that I could go into is like supply chain attacks, and I think that's actually the most likely way to attack Lightning.
Well, I had a Watchtower comment before we move on too far. I think like the one way to just really dumb down what a Watchtower is like a backup system. Like if your Lightning node like totally screws up and like it's gone, it can't protect you. This Watchtower is a separate computer somewhere else on the internet that like acts as your backup, and it will just save you if things go wrong. But one of the things we saw with the LND bug is a lot of people were using LND nodes as their Watchtower of their LND node. And because the bug hit all LND nodes, their Watchtowers were useless and didn't save them. So I think like this is probably a thing we should change in the industry, is that we probably should have cross-implementation Watchtowers. So if you're running LND, you should probably run a Core Lightning Watchtower, or vice versa. If you're running Core Lightning, you should run an LND Watchtower, or you could do both. And I think this is a thing that like nobody has been doing, and this is sort of a wake-up call that like we should be doing that as a group.
I think that's a great point, and probably the biggest learning maybe from maybe not the big. But that's a huge point. And the other interesting thing about Watchtowers is the game theory at play, because so if you're an attacker and you knew about this bug and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go take down Danny's node, I'm gonna attack his node. You have to be very sure that I don't have a Watchtower configured, and because if I do and you try to attack my node, it's going to come back on you, and your money's going to get lost. And so just the fact that there are Watchtowers is a huge deterrent to any attackers. And yeah, which is kind of interesting.
I'm curious how kind of widespread, like I've heard about and read about and done a lot of digging into the idea of Watchtowers, but where's like the implementation of this? Like I don't even know of a simple tool to set up my own Watchtower, or how to utilize it. Like, what's the degree of like adoption of this? And
I think my sense is it's sorely lacking. And I think very few people are actually running Watchtowers at all. And hopefully this just gives people a kick in the butt. We should start doing more of that.
Yeah, it is pretty easy now with LND, because you can just like turn it on and then you like run it as a service and then input the node that you want to watch it.
It's native in the LND client now.
Yeah.
Like okay. I didn't even realize this. Okay.
Danny, do you have Watchtower set up for DZ?
So that's a good question, because
If he says no, quick, someone attack his server.
but also consider that
We got him, guys.
I'm incentivized to make you think that I don't have Watchtowers to bait you into attacking my node, because then if you do that and I do have Watchtowers, I'm going to take your money for attacking me.
The whole channel, too. The whole channel balance.
Yeah, that's an important point. Like, to do these attacks on Lightning nodes, you have to risk your own funds to do it.
Yeah.
Which is part of it, of the game theory of it.
Yeah. Now, there is one attack on Lightning that is not talked about as much, that Watchtowers can't save. And I don't know if we're going to get into that or not, but...
No, let's get into it. That's what we're here for,
Yeah, the
right?
flood and loot? Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah, the flood and loot.
Well, Danny, why don't you break it down for us? Why don't you give us a flood and loot attack?
So the flood and loot attack is... This is going to get a bit technical, but basically... you flood a bunch of nodes, a bunch of channels with pending payments. The attacker does this. And so you set up all these payments, and but you prevent the payments from like settling. And the way Lightning works is in the happy path, like payments, everyone settles, everyone cooperates and settles the payment instantly. But in this case, the attacker does not cooperate, and they refuse to settle the payment the easy way. And they force a ton of nodes to try to settle a ton of payments the hard way, which is on-chain. So what they can do is like lock up a bunch of payments at the same time across a ton of nodes, across a ton of channels, and then like refuse to cooperate. And then all these nodes at the same time have to go to the blockchain with these transactions to settle like these thousands and thousands of payments. And now they're all competing to get, and these settlement transactions need to be confirmed within 40 blocks or 100 blocks or whatever they've configured for, And so basically you have this race to get these transactions confirmed, and there's a theoretical attack and where if you do this on a big enough scale, then funds within channels can, the the game theory can break down and the attacker can like sweep the funds from the channel if they can DDoS the chain for long enough.
And this is also something too that's just kind of, it's essentially a DDoS trick against a payment network instead of the DDoS problems we have with the normal internet. Like, this is just kind of inherent to open networks, is how do you control the presence of a necessarily adversarial actor that's going to be there? And you know, the key trick with the flood and loot attack is that I am both the receiver and the sender of the payment. So like, just for a simple setup, I've got a bunch of channels with Danny, and I send the payment to him and then back to myself. So I can go ahead and just close out, and I just have it in the channel in my right hand, but I don't let it settle from the channel with my left hand. So he's stuck with a bunch of stuff that has to go to chain. But I think also one of the interesting mitigations to this, and maybe y'all just expand on like what are kind of like the basic mitigations for that sort of an idea or a vulnerability.
Reduce exposure with channel size and payment amounts, and then you can also only partner and channel with trusted people, which is something that Cash App does, but not
Also
something that you want to do.
You can also reduce the quantity of HTLCs that you allow.
Yeah, right now it's like, I think like default, it's like 400 HTLCs.
I think LND is like
Simultaneously,
400 something as default, but maybe Core Lightning is 30 or something. But you can also configure that. And I actually did have a question where even if you only allow like say 10, if other people allow hundreds and hundreds, can you get screwed anyway?
Well, technically, it's only if you're open with the channel party. Like it's not everybody in the mix that's screwed. It's the last person who's connected to the attacker, right? Like let's say we bounce from Warren to me, and then to you, and then back. He can settle to you, and then you settle to me, but I'm the one that's stuck with all the unsettled HTLCs because he's not
That's
responding.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
In that context, it's my number of unsettled HTLCs that I set. Like if I set it at 10, maybe I'm fine. But if I set it at 400, I've kind of screwed myself.
I guess what I'm saying is that you're competing for block space with if these other nodes
they do it with a ton of people.
If a ton of nodes are all attacked at the same time, you may just have one single HTLC worth half a Bitcoin. But if you're competing for block space with 1,000 other nodes, you might be in trouble. But do I have that right? I think that's...
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that I think there's a whole class of things where if you attack, I don't know, it's kind of a newer area of thought on Lightning, is what if you attack like all of the Lightning Network or most at the same time and like fill up the block space? Because
that's my question for Bitcoin Stack Exchange after this. As we're talking about it, I want to know how long it would take to clear the mempool if every single channel had to go to chain all at once.
Oh, yes. This has become Lightning FUD hour.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's break this thing.
But there are ways to mitigate this risk. Like one of them is you can extend what's called your time lock delta, where that's like the window you give yourself to get this, the amount of time you give yourself to get your that settlement transaction confirmed. So I think default is like 40 blocks, but like for my node, I've increased that to 144 blocks to give me like 24 hours.
There was a great, very long paper, I don't know, 50 pages, something like that posted on the Lightning dev mailing list, I want to say like 3 months ago, that went through like basically all of the classes of this kind of attack with like recommendations at the end. And the recommendations at the end were basically do that plus a litany of other things. And it feels like the kind of problem we're not going to find some like slam dunk, that solves it, but it's going to be a bunch of little things that we tweak all the parameters on so that it no longer makes sense to the attacker.
It just kind of continue to partially mitigate on top, one on top of the
and
next
I think like
until it becomes.
So far with Lightning, like nobody's attacking Lightning, right? So like it's sort of no one really worries. Well,
someone is.
Except for that asshole with that big transaction.
So, but also I think it might be one of those things where it's like you don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the slowest person.
Right.
I just have to run faster than you, man.
Yeah.
Unless that bear's really hungry and he just gobbles everyone.
How hungry is Barack?
I mean, there's a related thing of that. Maybe you should be scared of having channels with miners as well, because this is kind of a side class of that.
Yeah, and determine
That's
who
interesting.
who do you peer with is important. So it's like if some node randomly tries to open a channel with you and you don't know anything about them, you can just say no.
Dusty, can
Just
you
say
expand
no.
on that? Can you expand on that with miners?
Oh, look, so these are all classes of attacks where basically the way it works is you prevent your peer from getting stuff on chain, right? Like all of them, that's where it starts, and there's all kinds of complicated ways you can get to that point, right? But, if it's like a really big mining pool, they could like blacklist your transactions, for instance.
They could just specifically only mine theirs and just like kind of leave yours out of the pool.
Yeah, so like these sort of classes of problems get more challenging if the miner is actually also your Lightning partner, and something to think about. But I do think these things all like will get solved. Like I was trying to say before, like we've kind of been taking it easy, resting on our heels because like wasn't anybody attacking the Lightning Network, but that will change at some point. And it's important. There's some great research being done on this stuff, and it's great that we're doing now before we need it. And at some point, it'll be obvious that we do need it. And I think Lightning will mature, and these things will get taken care of.
I'm waiting to talk about a entirely different type of attack. But
Oh yeah, let's get into it. Well, one thing I just actually wanted to say on is something that you brought up, Andersen, was just like the idea is don't open channels. You are taking on a degree of risk. You're not taking like direct counterparty risk because like it's not a custodial relationship with your channel partner, but you're taking time and can I settle this to chain risk. You're exchanging a time trade-off. So it makes perfect sense that nodes ought to have reputations. You need to establish yourself that you're going to be online, that you're going to be worthwhile liquidity. I'm locking up funds to be a part of this network, and you're my connection to this network. So it makes a lot of sense that reputation will be a big part of it, and I will absolutely demolish my reputation if I try to screw Danny out of 400 unsettled HTLCs, and very few people will accept
Don't worry.
channels with me.
I'm going to make a
in the future.
node with an alias of your name, and then I'm going to
Thank
attack
you.
him.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate that. I really just like knock that score down to the bottom. All right. Warren, a different type of attack.
okay. So flood and loot and like the types of so the ways in which nodes could be robbed, like these are legitimate hypotheticals. But there are far simpler ways in which Lightning node operators lose money that people don't really talk about. And
Let's talk about them.
It's largely in the class of what hardware do you select. It's actually a bad idea to use a Raspberry Pi or a hobby grade piece of hardware with a single disk.
Those things cost like $200 now anyway. So.
Yeah.
You can't even get a hold of them.
No, so I come from a system security and operating system background from a decade before Bitcoin, and when I saw people selling like Raspberry Pi kits with a single drive for $400, I'm like, oh no, this is not a good idea. Like the way Lightning works, you need to back up that channel state in real time at every moment. And if you have only a single disk, you are not protected. It's better if you have two disks in like a RAID 1 mirror, or that and a remote system, like maybe also a Watchtower. Like this is how you protect your funds on Lightning to be able to restore in the event of a system failure or especially a disk failure. If you've seen me on Twitter for a while now, I've been showing how the cheapest way to make your own Lightning node is to actually go on eBay and find used PCs, used laptops. You can get those cheap and buy like brand new disks, ideally two, and that would make a far safer Lightning node than what most people are running. And the thing people don't know is, okay, so there was this node called zero fee routing. For actually most of the time he was growing that node all the way past 1,000 channels, it was running on a ThinkPad.
Holy crap.
Because core lightning is so efficient, it worked. But then, when it grew big enough, he moved it to real server hardware.
The ThinkPad thought too hard.
Are there any lightning in a box solutions that are thinking about dual hard drives and making backup better?
I would love to have a RAID, like a simple plug and play RAID setup. Like that would be awesome to see.
So one more warning, and about lightning in a box, like these lightning distributions, I'm not going to mention their names, but the most popular of them, like you need to trust the competence of the software distributor, and unfortunately, the most popular of the lightning distributors messed up their software updates that screwed over a lot of their L&D users, like once or twice this past year. So like these people need to have more skills and better testing.
It sounds like
Get
an ad
some
for
skills.
Voltage. Sounds like an ad for Voltage.
Learn to code.
Anyway.
So there's room for improvement in this industry, and I'm not shilling particular brands, and I'm not demonizing their name in particular, but like the industry needs to do better.
Let's go.
Yeah.
It's funny too. This is like kind of core to the engineering philosophy too. It's like why we do this in layers. You know, like thank God there's not a Bitcoin problem with trying to add all these features and create like this broad payment network that you can still just do on chain and like everything works until the problems get sorted out. Separate the risk.
Imagine we had a hard fork for the L&D bug.
Jesus Christ. Ethereum.
Ethereum.
So also don't use Tor because your node can very easily be isolated because Tor is so slow and unreliable.
Tor has been beaten to death for a couple of months. Like it's been under like basically constant DDoS attack.
Yeah, but mid last year, before the Tor network's been under attack, like it would very frequently be too slow for Lightning payments to work.
Well, I just want to, before, I know we're running out of time here, but I want to get like kind of your thoughts on like where your focuses are and like what you're kind of excited about with like the next things that are moving in Lightning and cleaning up some of the stuff where we've added too many features before hardening things. But yeah, where you are.
Well, my focus is on implementation of Lightning at Cash App, and I'm really excited about making that just very resilient and robust, similar to what we did with the on-chain withdrawals. Like, I can sleep at night. We don't have to think about it. We've done a lot of automation and alerting, and Lightning is still
Nice.
very new, so we're making that smooth so we don't have to be stressed about it.
And you're integrating splicing soon, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. All right.
Any day now.
You heard it here.
So I'm proud of the core Lightning team. They have always been about safety and security. Like they were not affected by the recent problems, like affecting the other implementations. My project PeerSwap is to enable any node to be its own swap provider, to actually decentralize the Lightning network.
I've been bugging the hell out of Voltage, but I would actually love because I've been wanting to use Core Lightning for like a while. I've got like 3 or 4 L&D like pieces of software. But I would love a simple, like a far more plug and play, because the only C Lightning I have right now, I don't have any channels on it, but it's just CLI on like a Luna node, if I'm not mistaken, or DigitalOcean maybe. Is there essentially like kind of plug and play options on the table for Core?
Okay, so I can't speak for Voltage, but I had lunch with their VP Eng a few days ago.
I bugged the hell out of them. They keep telling me it's soon.
So there are cloud options, but there's also Greenlight, where you'll have a choice of multiple front ends, like running on your phone, where the private keys and the authorization for payments is entirely under your control, but you have the convenience of the cloud on top of that.
And BTC Pay Server has Core Lightning now.
Okay. Maybe I just need to dig a little bit more into
It's like
BTC Pay and
Sets up differently, kind of thing. Yeah. It's a good setting.
when I make my shift, I'll probably explore it.
Let's go. All right, do we have time to say my thing for what I'm excited about?
Yeah, hit it.
Cool. I'm really excited about this idea removing the key that you use for your Lightning node off of the node. And this is cool in a lot of ways. So the guys that are running big Lightning nodes, their server has the access to their Bitcoin. If somebody hacks into that server, all your Bitcoin's gone. To me, that's a terrifying thought. It's one reason I don't want to host a Lightning node on some kind of colo. But this remote key signing thing is you have a separate device, maybe one you plug into your closet or your safe at home, and it will remotely sign for the Lightning node. And this is one of the new developments happening that I think is really a huge upgrade in the safety, security, and the sleep at night feeling in Lightning today.
Cool. Yeah, I'm focused on Lightning liquidity. So if you're a merchant who is tired of managing your channels, if you're a company that needs a good peer, or if you're just a pleb routing node and can't figure out how to put your Bitcoin to work, check out dz.io. And there's a few different options. What? And deezy.io is where I'm putting most of my stuff. So, yeah.
Nice. So excited you're doing that.
Hell yeah. So we will close that out here. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to follow everybody and stay up. There's so many projects. Lightning is in such an awesome place. I love also that we're finally breaking some things. I think we've crossed that bootstrap era, and we're starting to get into the all right. Let's really build out this infrastructure. Let's build out the business and the market and make this thing work. And it's exciting to see everybody building all the things, talking about how we're going to break it in the process. So I think there's a very bright future, and I appreciate you guys coming up here to talk about all this stuff.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.